good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. That's a quote from St. Jerome, but what's better than working hard? I'll tell you right now, it's thinking hard. Welcome back to Cut the BS, Build the Dream. I'm your host, Brittney Kosev, entrepreneur, business owner, and somewhat sane single mother, although I just agreed to have 5 teenage boys stay the night at my house tonight. Eek! I transitioned from being a public educator to investor and broker owner of a growing real estate brokerage. And with all that being said, I know what hustle and hard work looks like. But I also learned how to retrain my mind to success. And it's my goal to give that insight into each of you on this podcast. So today, I'm giving you the exact mindset shift that will move you ahead of 95% of people on this planet. People say all the time, travel the road less traveled. Well, that's what this is about. You don't want to be on the same road as 95% of people. You want to be the 5% because success isn't just about doing more. It's about thinking better. So let's go. Now, here's the first part I want you to consider. Rich people, successful people, they think differently. Rich people don't just work harder. They think different. They see problems as opportunities. They act as if their goals are already achieved. They show up in rooms they're not qualified for yet, and they rise to meet the vision. You don't attract money and success by working harder than everyone else. You attract it by thinking differently than everyone else. I recently rewatched the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and Leo DiCaprio said in there, there's no nobility in poverty. And guys, he's right. And I say this as someone who grew up without much. Struggle doesn't make you noble, but solving problems does. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about what successful people do when they have a problem, because successful people are not people without problems. They have just as many. The difference is they learn to solve them. The extent of your success will always be measured by the extent of your problem solving ability. And the kicker in all of this is if you can define what you want, I can tell you how to get it. But the problem is most people never define it. And that's why only 5% become successful. When you write down your goals and you focus on them daily, you are kickstarting your brain's reticular activating system to look for ways to make the goal a reality. We talked about this last week when we were talking about the mindset of money. There's so much neuroscience to support this. When you have a goal in mind and you write it and you think about it and you dwell on it, and your brain acts like the gatekeeper of that goal, the bouncer to the nightclub. It filters out things that don't align and finds things that do. That's the beauty of neuroscience and goals. So start writing down your goals, whether it's income, weight loss, or finding the perfect partner on Bumble. Here's the next part. Earl Nightingale said this perfectly. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, but only 5% of people ever choose that ideal and commit to it. Why? Well, because most people are busy blaming their parents, their environment, their circumstances, or they fill their time with distractions. But the 5%, the people picking the road less traveled, they take ownership. They take those written goals and they actively look for ways to make it happen. We are what we think about. And as you speak, you create. Think about your goals. Find aligned action and share what you're doing with as many people as possible. And I know this firsthand. I was raised in a home below the poverty line. I grew up in a divorced family, also raised by a single working mom. Shout out to all the single parents. She was a barber raising 3 kids. My dad had remarried and I had 4 other siblings. So there really wasn't much money or anything to go around. When I was with my mom, we bounced around from apartment to house to apartment. And when we were with my dad, it was 7 kids, 2 adults, and a few chihuahuas living in a 3-bedroom trailer home. And I remember asking myself, why do we live like this while others live so differently? You all have those neighborhoods in your hometown, right? The ones that are the big, nice houses. And when you drive past it every day to go to your not so nice neighborhood, you've got to think the same things. Why do I live like this when these people live like this? The adults around me, my parents, they were kind. They were hardworking people, but they were also really discouraged. And oftentimes they blamed things outside of themselves for why they weren't successful. But that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted answers. I wanted to know, how do I become the 5%? And I found it in books, Harry Potter, the Bible when I was a kid, stories of perseverance. I learned about people like Socrates, who was ridiculed for ideas, and the Wright brothers, who were mocked for dreaming of flight. Imagine if they didn't pursue it because they were afraid of ridicule. Well, I wouldn't have gone to Miami last weekend, that's for sure. Reading was my escape, but what was so neat about it is it also became a window to the outside world. And then I started reading biographies and reading articles about other successful people. And I read about Howard Schultz, who is the founder of Starbucks. I visit that place almost every day of the week. He grew up in public housing in Brooklyn. His father, who was a truck driver, was only bringing in about $20,000 a year. And he lost his job and health benefits after getting injured, and it devastated the family. Schultz said this, though. I saw what it was like to be in the blue collar class, and I have no platform to be heard. And I vowed that if I ever got the chance, I would change that. And he did. He didn't just hustle and make some extra money. He thought, and he built one of the most iconic brands on the planet, one coffee cup at a time. His story and mine should tell you that your past and any humble beginnings that you had, any bad decisions that you made years ago. When I was in Miami over the weekend, I was at a real estate mastermind with a small group of friends that I've made over the years from Bigger Pockets. And my partner in it, Joanna, was telling everyone about how nobody thought or expected her to be anything other than a druggie, a deadbeat, from the way she was in her teenage years, the childhood she had. Fast forward, she led this entire retreat. Humble beginnings, past decisions do not dictate your future potential. And there is a secret here, though, guys. The secret ingredient, our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our service. If you want more money, more meaning, joy, don't chase it. Serve for it. Solve for it. It's a law of nature, like a balance scale. Service on one side, rewards on the other. And they're not always equal. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're serving more and not getting the rewards. But let me tell you this, it's when you do good for other people and you come from a good, authentic place and you know that you're doing your best to add value in their lives and serve them, whether it's the vessel of real estate or roofing, or you're committed to growing your Arbonne business, whatever it is, if you believe in what you're doing and you are adding value to the people around you, it's like writing a universal IOU. And when you put that out there, the universe is going to reward you 10 times. I feel that way every day at my company. I love coaching and training and mentoring my agents. I probably talk to 20 or so people a day, whether I'm leading a training or I'm just doing one-on-ones. I want to find out what roadblocks are prohibiting their success. I want to find out what drives them, what their goals are, what motivates them. And on the hindsight of that, I want to know what I can do to support them. And it's not a direct relationship to the income I bring in, but I do believe that the service I'm giving is going to reward me down the road. And here's the thing about your past and your upbringing. The opposite can be true too. Let me show you the flip side. You may not know this woman, but you've heard of the brand before. In fact, every woman has heard of this brand. And guys, you've seen the effects of this brand when you look at a beautiful woman walking down the street with such smooth clothes on. Spanx. Sara Blakely, the founder of Spanx, she grew up in the middle class. Her dad was an attorney. Her mother was an artist. She wasn't poor, but she wasn't handed a business either. She didn't graduate from college and her dad say, okay, here you go. Now do this and you're going to be just fine for life. No, she was selling fax machines door to door, and she hated how her undergarments looked under white pants. So she cut the feet off of her pantyhose and boom. Idea sparked. She invested $5,000 of her own money herself to manufacturers and revolutionized fashion. And not because she needed to escape poverty like Howard Schultz or myself, but because she thought creatively about problems. And don't underestimate the power of your own discomfort, whether it's underwear or whatever. It might just be your $1 million idea. So, what's stopping you? Why don't more people think like the 5%? Well, I can tell you one thing. Of course, there's the limiting beliefs in your mindset, but what's causing a lot of it is distraction. Did you know that on average, people in the United States are watching 3 hours of TV a day? Netflix, Amazon Prime, new movies coming out. And did you also know that on top of that, most people are spending 4 or more hours on their phone, scrolling social media, watching YouTube, and here's another one. 80% of US families didn't read a single book last year. 33% of people never read a book again after high school, and 42% stop after college. But another data point that you need to know, well, the average CEO, he's reading 60 or more books a year. Wait, let me rephrase that. The average CEO, she or he, is reading 60 or more books a year. Let that sink in. If you spend 4 hours a day on your phone for the next 50 years, you're going to end up spending 8.5 years of your life just scrolling, not building, not serving, not dreaming, just scrolling. And so I encourage you to replace that entertainment with elevation. If you want to be in the 5%, taking the road less trodden, then do what the 95% won't do. Crack open a book instead of just refreshing your TikTok. Listen to a podcast in the car instead of jamming to the new Carter 6 album, although that's pretty good. I have some opinions there. Write your goals down instead of doom scrolling. Take micro moments of silence instead of filling every gap with noise. Entertainment is fine, but education elevates you. Remember what Earl Nightingale said: success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Don't watch someone else travel the world. Build the life that lets you buy the plane ticket, or better yet, buy the plane. So let's pause here. I want to do something. Let's take a breath together, because this isn't just a podcast episode. This is a line in the sand. One more breath. You've heard the truth. Success isn't something you're just born into. It's something you think your way into. And that journey can start right now. I have an affirmation for you, something I've been saying, speaking, writing, and believing for a very long time. And I thought I'd share it with you today. So write this down if you can, or come back later if you're driving and write it down later. All is well. Everything that is happening in my life will work out as I find solutions. I am the architect of my future. If you want to shift your life, you have to shift your thoughts. And so I encourage you guys, audit your time. Are you one of the people spending 4 hours or more a day on your phone? Well, every phone now has the apps and the ability to monitor your consumption time. Track it. Where are you spending your time? Where could you replace it with something else? Reduce distraction. The bars are always going to be open. The guys are always going to be out there to chase. The girls are always going to be out there to chase. But what you don't have now, that success, that goal, it's going to stay far out in the future if you continue to distract yourself. Read every day. And if you're one of those people that says, well, I don't like to read, hello, Audible, and just saying a plug for public libraries and school libraries, you can get a library card, guys, for free. And you can also use their Libby app or Sora or whatever the apps they have available and listen to these books for free. Read every day. Think harder than the 95%. Serve deeper than the 95%. And it's going to reward you. This world is noisy, and most people, they're just asleep with their eyes open, distracted, discouraged, disconnected from their potential. But you're awake, you're aware, and now you've got the tools to do something different. When you cut the BS, you create space for the dream. So thank you for joining me today on Cut the BS, Build a Dream. If this episode made you think harder, dig deeper, or dream a little bigger, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone stuck in hustle mode who needs to hear that elevation doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from alignment, intention, and thought. And before you go, remember this: you don't need permission to become who you were created to be. You don't have to play small to fit in. You don't have to wait for your circumstances to change to start thinking like a leader. So stop scrolling, start thinking, and I'll see you next week. Until then, keep cutting the BS and keep building your dream. This is Brittney Kosev. I believe in you.